I identify as a lesbian female.
My physical sex at birth is female. I don't know if I'm a man exactly, but I guess I'm a gay boy.
Sexuality, I'm just generally queer.
Okay.
It's just a very general identity because it's so fluid in itself, and my interests and desires are frequently changing. And then I'm really gender indifferent as far as gender identity goes. So I don't care that much about gender as a category for myself.
The end of my sophomore year in high school, my friend said something about, like, if you and your best friend hooked up, I'd totally be okay with that. And I was like, no! But then in my head, I was like, maybe. So that's when I kind of started thinking that maybe I liked girls, and then I didn't identify as a lesbian until my senior year, where I was like, yeah, I like girls.
About as early as I understood that I was a separate thing from other people. So, like, about 4.
In Twin Falls, I didn't have very much language to give to any of the sort of feelings and desires that I had. So, lacking the language or the framework to help sort of articulate what I felt, I was immediately lumped into those set of binaries, the gender binary, male or female, or like the homosexual, heterosexual binary. So I was like, oh well, I guess I'm just a gay dude, I guess, because that's, I guess, what fits me most, maybe, sometimes, most of the time, I don't know. But then as I started, like, discovering these things more and more, then I'm just like, oh, okay, this fits me a lot more, this just very broad term for my orientation, and then really gender indifference as I discover more and more what gender is as a category.
So when I started to come out, I started with my friends. I started by telling my best friend, and I was like, hey, I think I like girls. And she's like, that's cool, I get it. And then over time, I became more and more comfortable with the idea, and I didn't come out to my parents until, like, last month.
Well, I came out to my significant other, and that went really terribly. So I fell back to my family. I was like, I'm having a really miserable time in my life, and there's something I want to talk about. And I came out to my family, where my dad and my grandmother and my aunt, and then progressively more family, and then I made a whole bunch of friends just as myself, and eventually they figured out that I'm not a gay boy from birth, necessarily, but yeah, so friends and family, and then once my name change is done, I'll be out to everybody.
When I first moved to Boise, I came out to my parents and they were like, okay, it's about time, like, yeah, whatever, you want some pizza or something? So it's like, okay, cool, that's cool, I guess. And then that was before I got to college, so when I got here I was just like, oh yeah, whatever, I can be out, I can be anything.
It all started when I was first questioning my sexuality in high school. I was able to join a group for other, like, identifying kids, and that's when I met other people in the community, like trans and bisexual and gay, and then you, like, slowly, just by knowing everyone else, you just become involved in the community.
And I kind of had a notion that such a thing was possible when I was, like, I've wanted to transition since I was 13, 12 or 13, because puberty is, like, really a terrible time for transgender people, because your body's just out of control and every day you don't want to wake up. But I didn't research it until it really got unbearable, so the lingo is fairly recent to me, within the last year.
That was a very slow progression, starting from, like, nothing in Twin Falls and then working up toward like Rachel Maddow on the news when I started college, and then Tumblr changed a lot of things exposing me to more and more varieties of language, and then working at the Women's Center exposed me to more and more ideas, and then delving into gender studies, which is what I'm planning to do for the rest of my life.
I have a lot more gay friends than most. But, I like it. Like, being part of the community, because you all, identify in that community, you all have a safe, this person's been through what I've been through, they understand. So you get kind of a close connection with people, and it's really great, and you form, close bonds and meet people. But it's just, I've made a lot of good friends.
Based on the standards of care, which are kind of flexible now compared to in the past, you're supposed to live full-time as your target gender. I identify as fully male, and so I go out like this all the time. I'm never not like this except when I'm alone in my room, and that is being full-time. And sometimes it's stressful because you're not 100% sure if you pass, which is being perceived by others as your target gender. So it can be really stressful when you're in a situation with people you've never met, and you're never sure exactly how they perceive you. But that's kind of the human condition, so you try not to let it get to you. And it's difficult interacting with people who knew you before you came out and started to transition, because they'll use all the hallmarks of your old identity.
It's given me a lot more awareness of how the world works and about how I can be an ally for other people, because by being a person who is in these oppressed categories, I can see how systems of oppression work, how some systems of oppression work, and then I can put on my sociological imagination to sort of try and empathize with people in other social systems of inequality. So in that way, it's made me more aware and more of an ally.
That's the biggest deal, is family and friends accepting.